Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In this video we'll be doing a little bit more work on the Gs300 before we actually get to pulling the NA engine out and putting the NA to T engine in. So in this video we'll just be installing a Safc2, which is a piggyback from Apexi. It is more so on the older side of engine management, but it does do the job for what I'm looking for. If I could get away with making 350 to 300 horsepower on this actual setup that I'm installing in the Gs300, I'll be perfectly fine with that. As far as upgrading the trans and the engine management in the future, yes, that is the plan. But for now, we just getting this car together so we actually enjoy it, and turbocharged GS is cool. So why not? In my experience, I'm comfortable with using this piggyback just because I know how to actually adjust the fuel in it. That's the only thing, that's the only reason why I'm actually installing this, because we are going to go with either 440 or 550cc injectors. But the problem with that comes into play is because it's a 2JZ GE VVTi ECU, and I think the stock injectors on this car is actually like 260 cc's. So 440s may be too much for the ECU to handle. So this right here will actually allow me to calibrate it, pretty much to pull more fuel out of it. Now I'm not expecting to make big power at all on this car at all as far as now. For right now, to get in the ballpark of 300 to 350 wheel horsepower, in my opinion, is good. I'm not pushing it anywhere past that. And you'll understand why when I get into the later video to give you the details of the engine setup. So with that being said, let's get out here and get this thing installed and get a drive or two around the block just to make sure everything works as it should. And we can go from there with it. Just in case I forget to explain, if you're looking at this, this does look crazy. I'm looking at it on camera now, bro. It looks crazy. So when you buy your Safc2, it has like a quick disconnect, so that way you don't have to unpin everything from your ECU to actually pull this thing out. There's a quick disconnect here, and you just depin it. That's well, unplug it. That's all. I had to actually extend this because if you already know about the Gs300s, the ECU is in the engine bay by like close by the headlights, and this is actually going to sit inside the cockpit with me. So I already knew the existing wire setup that they have is not going to work for me most likely. So I went ahead and just extended this over the last day or two. I do have wire mesh to cover this up to make it look nice and clean once we get it wired up, and I'll give you guys a look-see once we get that going. The Safc2 is like an older version. They do have a Safc Neo, Apexi Neo, which is the newer version of this. It does have a lot more tuning capabilities than the Safc2, and it has like a nice color screen to it, and it just looks more modern than this old joint. But I'm comfortable with using this and adjusting things with this, so, and I know it works, so that's and it's free, so that's why I'm going to use this, because this is the one that was in the SC300 that we ran for almost 3 years on the first NA to T setup before I actually went standalone. So yeah, guys, let's go ahead. I don't mean to talk you guys' heads off, just want to put everybody on the same page. Let's go ahead, get out here and get this thing installed and get some test drives going. All right, so first things first, get one of these windows cracked just in case, so we won't lock ourselves completely out the car. Go back here and unplug the battery. All right, so I'm gonna run it like down through the floor. I'm not as sure if it's an existing hole somewhere here, but if not, I might drill a small hole somewhere. Not 100% sure yet, but I'll let you guys know. Run it down here and over to the ECU box. May wind up cutting here somewhere just so that way it could go straight in, because when I pull the harness out, going through here would be ideal, but once I pull the harness out, I'm not 100% sure if I'll run into an issue with that. Not sure yet. So yeah, so you see the distance from where it has to run from here all the way tucked nice and neat to the actual dash. So now you understand why it's so many, why the wire harness looks the way it does. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this thing installed and go from there. As far as the car, it's a 1998 Gs300. I know Gs300 98 to I think 99 the ECU pinout is the same, and I think from 99 plus, that's when the ECU pinout changed, if I'm not mistaken. But this is the actual ECU pinout I'll be using. If you need to, like, I guess, copy it, I guess just take a screenshot. Yeah, and we'll go from there. Not 100% sure if this is the actual right ECU pinout, but if you're watching this video, it worked. So when I extended it, I actually labeled the actual wires to where they actually go at on the ECU, and I have it set up for a hot wire, not the pressure sensor. But if I'm not mistaken, it's the same diagram. Depending on what year car your car is, or the ECU you're actually using, you could actually go on Apexi Safc2.com, and they have tons of wiring diagrams for this. So my wires aren't going to be their same color down on this end, but at the top half, this is the actual OEM color wires here. But mine's kind of changed colors once I extended it, but I have everything labeled. So if you go to Apexi Safc2 on Google, you can actually pull up the wiring diagram for pretty much any car this thing actually works to. So I'm gonna go ahead and look at this pinout real quick. First off, we're gonna wire in power and ground, just to make sure this thing actually is powered and grounded, so it actually turns on, and then we'll go from there as far as plugging everything else up and checking it as we go, which makes sense. All right, guys, so we actually have power. This is ground. I actually have ground and power going to the Safc2. I'm gonna go ahead in the back, plug the battery up and make sure this thing actually has power going to it, and then we shall proceed from there to installing the rest of the wires. So all right, guys, so I had the battery hooked up, power's off, power's on, lights up. So let's give it a test run as far as memory wise. It's supposed to say the memory and everything that you do internally. So what I'll do is I'll set it to monitoring, set it to 4-channel. We'll do, well, we gotta change that. So we'll just do pressure. All right, and cut off, and that same screen that was on there should pop back up once you cut it on. There it goes. So everything's good so far. So from this point, I'll wire in, and I suggest you to do the same if you're actually going to use this thing. I'm going to wire in the throttle. I'm going to wire in the throttle, come back in, cut the car on to the on position, blip the throttle, make sure I get a response on that throttle line. Then I'll wire in the rev, which is here. I wire that in, cut the car completely on, rev it a couple times and make sure the rev and everything matches, and then I'll go from there. So I'm gonna wire everything up and give you guys a look-see of how everything operates once you wire it up. I'll drop a true wiring diagram in the I drop a wiring diagram screenshot, so that way you know exactly where to wire everything up. You'll keep in mind the Gs300 years do vary with the ECU pinout. So this is a 98. So yeah, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing knocked out, give you guys a look, see I have everything wired in and plugged up, clean the harness up, have the harness tuck, and go for a test drive. Now hear me out, the test drive won't be as dope as it does in the Gs300 because we have no turbo as of yet. But to actually see this thing actually work as it should, we should be good to go. As far as adjusting anything, I'm not going to adjust anything on here, mainly because I don't have an AFR gauge and I don't know what the engine is saying as far as exhaust. It'll just be pretty much the stock setup. So yeah. All right, guys. So I have the Safc I have the Safc wired up. The revs are working. The throttle position, since the throttle the actual throttle isn't working properly. I think it's because we have that double flat thing with the motor on our throttle body. That might be an issue. I might have to actually drive it to get it to work. we reading battery voltage and the AFR, and I'll show you how to set the sensor set, and I'll show you how to go through a little bit of setting, a few settings in this thing that you have to set before you actually start your car. So if you're running a hot wire, well, the mass airflow sensor on like a stock ECU setup, it's different from running a pressure sensor from like a GTE for a map sensor. So I'll show you guys how to do that, and we could go for a test drive. And then clean the harness up, because I'm gonna show you what it looks like. It's gonna look crazy while we driving. So this, so I have it coming from under the hood through the window, because you know I don't want to smash it in the door, and just sitting right here. So what we'll do is, first thing, you gotta turn the key to the on position. Do not start your car completely up. Do not start your car completely up. I don't care if you have all the wires hooked up. Do not start your car before you do this first step. This is a major step. So when it first comes on, it'll come on this screen. So the first thing you have to do is go down to ETC. You go to sensor type. You will choose hot wire if you're running a mass airflow sensor. Press next. 1 in, 1 out. And that's it. And then you just press back, slide it back. You go to car select. Next. Cylinders 6 through. Inline 6. All right. Then you just slide it back. Sensor check. Press that. Boom. And it'll show you everything. Blip the throttle. The throttle on this is going to be a little bit off. I think is mainly because we have that other throttle sensor. That other TPS issue with the drive-by-wire thing, deal with the throttle body. Knock sensors, I don't have the knock sensor hooked up. Is the reason why I don't hook that up. Let's keep that out the conversation. That is not hooked up. If it was hooked up, it won't read, I don't think, until you start the car. But on here, I don't have it hooked up. So we go to previous. And then you set your monitoring system up, 4-channel. Airflow, throttle, rev, battery. That's all I have on mine. And boom, then you go start your car. Right. For people using a GTE ECU or a pressure sensor, same deal. Car on the on position, go down to ETC, sensor type. Next, you go to pressure. You run the map sensor. You press next, it's gonna mess mine up, but oh well. 1 in and 1 out, slide it back, go down to car select. Same deal, since it's an inline 6 2J, 6-cylinder through, slide back, sensor check. Mine's gonna be a little bit off, maybe. And you just check your sensors, that's it. Boom, boom, monitoring, and you'll see it change in this. 4. You see it says pressure instead of AFR, instead of the mass airflow. So that actually changed, and I'll show you in a sec. And you press that and you have everything here. So you see that pressure, go back, ETC, sensor type, hot wire. Next. Okay, it's set. Back, monitoring. And you see it changed. So that's like, I think that stands for like airflow. So since we run the mass airflow, that's what we have hooked up, set in the settings. And then you just, bam, press, nope, that's how, so this is how you select the sensor. If you don't want to see your throttle or the battery, since it went to battery, boom, you move it up the knock sensor, you move it up to correct. It won't select these because that's already selected, but you could go through, press it, that's what I want. All right, boom, next, and it's in there. All right. That is key to do before you start your car. You will run a chance. Look at me. Sensor type set up in this thing correctly before you even start your car or go driving your car. So make sure that's key before you go driving this car and starting it up. Set the sensors, guys. So yeah, with my harness wired through the window, let's go for a test drive and make sure this thing works. So no check engine lights. That's another thing. Make sure you have no check engine lights. If you have a check engine light on, get you some type of code reader. I got this little cheap $40-$50 code reader off like Amazon. It works well. So no check engine lights. Don't drive around after you hook this thing up with check engine lights. Check to see what that check engine light is for, because your mass airflow sensor or something might be wired in wrong. So that'll definitely let you know. So let's go for a test drive. I haven't yet found a good way to set the camera up in the Gs300, so you guys gotta like bear with me. So drive, look down the Safc, make sure everything's good, nothing's blinking. And I'm just drive around the neighborhood, make sure everything's good, make sure it's reading all the sensors. I think the throttle sensor, the throttle on here is a little bit off, like I said, because we have that 2-flap doohickey on here. So we'll see in a sec. Ooh, I can't wait to do this exhaust over. Still trying to decide if I'm gonna go single or dual. So light throttle, don't go mashing it, just cruise around, because if you go mashing and something's not right, you may damage the motor. So light throttle, just cruising. Okay, so the throttle is actually working. So the throttle and everything is actually working now. So that's a plus, see? On throttle, off throttle. All right, so the throttle, if you're in park and you blip the throttle, it's not gonna really respond properly. So you do have to drive it for the throttle to actually work. I was wondering that because, like I said, and I think I messed my exhaust up, bro. Good grief. So yeah, so that's the problem with the VVTi throttle body, because you know it's that second flap, like it's the throttle motor for this car. So but yeah, it should be good. So yeah, so cruise around. This time of day is probably not best to get on the highway, but I can give it some juice here and there. Give it some juice. Oh, roll this window up. Whoo, I forgot the wire harness is coming through the window. Oh my goodness, boy. Some things I do never change. Cruising. Oh, camera fell. Knew that was gonna happen. Yeah, I gotta get like a phone holder for this car. Got one in the SC. Need one in here. So everything's good. I'm gonna stop here, make a complete stop, make sure everything's good. Don't look crazy pulling up in front of people's house. Check engine light, everything good. Let's proceed. Hey guys, so but so far so good. We can go ahead, hit home, and I will show you how I have it installed once I clean the wiring up, because it looks crazy right now. All right, so this is how the harness looks now. Heat shrink in a few sections. And now we'll just cover it up. I use this Alex Tech loom, and it opens and closes on itself, so it's actually perfect. So I'll show you guys what it looks like with it covered up and ran through the car. All right, now you have it, guys. I used the option just to mount it here. I made a bracket, got some Velcro straps on it. I honestly might not leave it here, even though for me, this part of the dash doesn't really concern me as much as this part does, because the check engine light and the oil level light comes on here. The oil pressure light does come on here, but I'm going to run aftermarket gauges maybe here for that. So all in all, I'm not concerned about not being able to see this as I drive. So it'll be like this. I wanted to put it here, but I'm afraid somebody might see it in the windowsill and think it's something really special and bust my window and try to take it. So I kind of put it down here out of eyes reach when you're outside the car, because you know, like tucks up in, doesn't touch. I'm gonna show you guys how I have the wire actually ran from the cockpit to the engine bay. But the only thing is, I really didn't have to extend the wire harness as much as I did. So it's like a space right here to slide the harness through. If you mount it here or here, there's a space right here, that crack. Once you cut the car and slide the steering wheel down, there's enough space to slide it through there. Or if you decide to put it here, you can route it down through here. Underneath the dash, inside the footwell, it's a hole there, and I'll show you on the outside because it's a little difficult on the inside. So deep down here past all this extended harness, I got it all tucked there for now. I might shorten it, I might just leave it that way, I'm not sure. But down here, it is a boot that you just slide the boot over and just slide the harness straight through. And I'll probably tuck this a little bit more better a little later because I ran out of time today. And it goes here. I actually cut this, so this line, and then like boom, boom here, slide it through, and it's under. And if you don't know what you're looking at, you kind of can't tell. I might actually get another one of these and route it back here so you really can't tell, and tuck it like underneath here maybe later. But for now, like I said, this is good. This is pretty much a test run with it, but so far with the test drive I did, I'm 100% sure it's good to go as far as wired in right, because it would have showed signs of having an issue by now. And we'll go and start the car up so you know there's no cheap parlor tricks. So you see the check engine light and the oil level light is there. And the oil pressure light, you can't see it, it's right there. So start it up. No check engine lights. Throttle should blip a little bit. It's not going to be 100% because we got that 2 motor. The actual motor actually opens up the throttle, but RPMs is a little lower to raise up in a second or two. This just what this car does since I bought it. But yeah, we should be good to go. It looked like it's strobing on the camera, so it might be a little bit messed up on y'all end. So yeah, guys. So like I said, this is the engine management I chose to use. Standard piggyback, just because I'm not chasing power with this engine I'm throwing in the car. Is like I said, between 300 to 350. 440cc injectors. If I do choose to do the 550cc injectors on the engine, I will let you guys know when I do it. But for the most part, if it's running too rich, that's literally why I got it, just to pull a little bit of fuel at higher RPMs if I had, or at lower RPMs if I have to, under boost or in boost or whatnot. So when we get to that stage, I'll run you through how to actually adjust everything as far as your throttle. But yeah, I could consider this like a mission complete. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.